Hi there, this is Evelyn here. Today I am talking about the profitability versus the liquidity trade-off. What does that mean? Well, profitability versus liquidity means increasing your profit at the expense of being liquid. Being liquid does not mean turning into water. Laugh out loud. But being liquid means how much cash you have. The more cash you have, the more liquid you are. In business, there are a couple of things that actually prevent you from being liquid. One of which is having too much accounts receivable, having too much inventory, having too much accounts payable, and having huge amounts of loan, because the current payment stops you from being liquid because that's cash that has to go out in the current period. Let us take a look at having too much accounts receivable. What is the purpose of accounts receivable? When we have accounts receivable in our business, we normally do this because we want to increase the total sales. So the more accounts receivable we have, we estimate we're going to have more sales, because when customers don't have to pay now, they're more likely to buy more. However, there is a cost to accounts receivable. When you have accounts receivable, well, you miss out on the interest you could be earning if you have that money in the bank. Plus, if you have to borrow working capital loans, well, you got to pay that interest. Then there's the office supplies, the cost of the letters you have to send out. Then there's the cost of collection. Those are the monthly costs. And then in addition to the monthly costs, we also have the one-time cost. There's the bad debt estimate, because there's a good chance that a portion of that is not going to be collected. There's the credit card fees that you attribute to accounts receivable. There's a cost of background checks to approve people. And then, however, all of this is subsided by the increase as a result of the credit sales. Now let's take a look at inventory. Why do we hold inventory? Well, the reason we hold inventory is to increase sales too. You have inventory because you don't want to have to run out to purchase every time your customer orders. When you have inventory in hand, it's very likely that your customers will buy from you rather than they coming to you and say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm out, because they're probably not going to wait for you to get that inventory in stock. They're just going to go somewhere else. However, just like accounts receivable, there is a cost to holding inventory. Well, one, you might need to insure the insurance for the extra inventory you're holding. Labor cost, any cost from moving that inventory back and forth, that's a cost. Storage space, you might have to pay for a warehouse just to store that stuff. Plus, inventory might go out of style, especially if you're selling things like electronics. When you get it, and then if it's out of style, the demand is low, and then that's lost inventory you have. And then plus, when you have one of the biggest costs of holding inventory is the opportunity cost of capital. Because when inventory is being stored, you don't have that cash to invest back into your business or pay your vendors or buy other things, or you can't, make any other investments. So because of that, you're actually losing money by having that inventory in stock. Lastly, we look at accounts payable. Why do we carry accounts payable in our books? Well, we carry accounts payable because it helps us increase our cash flow. Imagine what would happen if let's say you purchased a pen for $10, you sell that pen for $15, and then when you sell it, your customer says, hey, can I please pay you when I get paid, which will be in 2 weeks? Well, if you didn't carry accounts payable, you wouldn't be able to pay your vendor. And so that means you have to look for an external source of accounts payable, of financing that purchase. So accounts payable is kind of something the vendor does to help us. So that way we can kind of weather the difference between, our purchase and our sales. So that way we have a little bit leeway and we're not really, really very tight. The key is managing all three of them: accounts receivable, inventory, and accounts payable. So that way your cash flow is pretty decent. So now let's see how this works by entering some data. Well, we'll start with the cost of holding inventory. If you have insurance cost for holding inventory, you put that in here. So in this case, I have 0, so I put that as 0. If there's any labor cost for holding inventory, you put that in there. I estimate that on average, I probably spend, this is a monthly cost, about $100 a month to move that inventory around, the excess inventory I have. I paid $50 a month for storage space. I don't have any obsolescence risk, so I will leave that alone. And my opportunity cost of capital, I do have to borrow money to meet working capital loan. On average, I borrow about $10,000, and they charge me roughly about 3%. So I put that in there and I do that estimation. So I'm estimating the cost of holding my inventory is $450. Now let us look how to enter data into the Excel workbook so we can compute our cost of accounts receivable. Use your intuition to find that this is not supposed to be 100% accurate data. It's just supposed to give you a hunch about what the cost of extending credit is versus what the cost of collecting on the cash payments. How can you optimize that so that way you're not losing sales as a result of not offering credit, and at the same time, you know that you're not strapped of cash because you're offering too much credit. So in the accounts receivable section, the first cost I have is the interest cost, savings interest rate. Well, if on average I estimate like I have $100,000 out in accounts receivable and I currently have a 5% interest rate, well, I am losing that 5% every single time I have accounts receivable. And then if I have any interest on loan with AR as collateral, I want to put that in there. Well, since I already put that as my part of my cost of accounts payable, I am going to leave that alone because you don't want to double enter. If there's any office supplies, if I send out payment due, I want to put that in there. I do send a letter once a month. So I do envelopes and stamps. I have about 20 people that I send to envelopes and stamps, about $1 a person. So that's about $20 a month. And then plus labor hours to do that. I pay someone $15 an hour. They spend about 2 hours doing this. That's $30. And then, here I put percentage-wise what I want, like what my bad debt estimate is. So all I have to do is just enter the percentage-wise here. So I estimate about 2% of my customers are not going to pay. I estimate it's going to cost me about 3% to collect my accounts receivable. I don't do background checks, so I don't, I can leave that blank. But if I do, if it's 1%, if 1%, of accounts receivable, credit sales, whatever you spend on that, it's a one-time fee because you're not going to background check your customers every month. And then I estimate as a result of giving accounts receivable, I estimate I'm going to have a 20% increase in sales. So you put that in there. Lastly, let's take a look at the cost of accounts payable. Well, when you hold accounts payable, there is a risk that you're going to pay late payment fees. So if you do have late payment fees, just estimate what that is every month. Well, I'm always on time. I don't have late payment fees, so I say that's 0. The cost of processing the bill, sending that out, the labor to do that, I pay someone $15 a month, an hour, and they spend about 4 hours a month doing that. That's $60. If there's any subscription I do, like if I do a bill pay type of subscription program, whatever that costs me to manage my accounts payable, I want to put that there, the fee. So I do pay $30 a month for that. If I buy supplies, envelope stamps to mail out the accounts payable, I'll put that in there, but I use automation tools, so that's 0. And then any early payment discount I'm losing. So if my vendor says, okay, we'll give you 2% discount if you pay cash now, so I would do 2% times what I estimate my monthly average purchases is, which I'll say, $10,000. So I'm losing $200 a month for accounts by not paying cash payment. Next, we come to the profitability versus liquidity payment tab. So the first thing, you only have to enter data in the yellow cells. We'll leave this alone for now. We don't want anything in here. And then, so I estimated for the month I had $1,319 in sales. This information you can easily get this information from your profit and loss statement. If you just recently looked at it, you can enter the amount here. Like I said, this is not supposed to be an exact tool. This is just to give you a good idea, a hunch of what it's costing you to give accounts receivable versus giving the cash now. Like, okay, can you increase your profitability by being less liquid? Or what can you really afford to do? So estimations are fine. You can actually play around with this and enter different possibilities and different scenarios to see how that will affect, so you can optimize your liquidity versus your profitability. Then here you enter the percent of cash payment for sales. So currently you have no accounts receivable and every single thing you buy Every single sale you have is a cash sale. Put 100% there. Then, how much do you carry in inventory? How much did you have beginning of the month? And then how much did you have at the end of the month? So just estimate. So just look and say, oh, I probably had about 10,000, 20,000 inventory beginning of the month. You know, I probably have the same thing at the end of the month. So you just estimate what that is. Like I said, this don't have to be exact numbers. But, you know, the closer to your situation these numbers are, the more likely you are to get meaningful results. Then what percentage of your purchases do you pay at the time of purchase? So if it's 97%, 50%, maybe some 50% you pay cash and 50% you pay accounts payable, put that in there. And then what's your cost of goods sold percent? So that means what percent of your sales is the cost of the goods. So if you buy pencils and sell pencils, if it costs you $10 to buy it and $15 to sell it, then you want to put the cost of goods sold. So in this case, if 10, it'll be 10 divided by 15, which would be 67%. So we'll put 97% here because this is what we estimate the cost of goods sold is. And other expenses. If there are any other expenses like payroll expense, any other expense you have in your business, just put that in here. Before we do our analysis, let's enter loan amount and any other cash withdrawals are made from the business. So this business has a total loan of $50,000. The annual interest rate is 4% and the term is 3 years. The day of the month this payment is made is on the 25th of each month. So just make sure you just fill in the yellow cells. Also, this business owner takes out $500 every month as distributions. Now, let us take a look at the analysis. What I'm about to say here is very important, so pay very, very close attention. We see our revenue here as $1,319,000. Cost of goods sold is $1,279,000. Gross margin is $39,584. This brings us to a gross margin percent of 3% and a net margin percent of 2%. These margins are very, very low. For a business this size with such low margin, it's not very hard to have cash flow problems. But however, if you plan your cash flow very well, you can still be ahead. So now let's go back and see the liquidity section and see what happens. Well, cash is $657,521. That's because he collected everything in cash, but yet he did not pay everything in cash. You can see this amount, part of his purchase is sitting down in the accounts payable for $649,938. So this cash that he did not pay right allows him to do, this business owner, to do other things. At the same time, he has no accounts receivable and only has ending inventory of $20,000. So he's turning his inventory pretty good. So this business, even though it's low margin business, he's pretty good at turning over his inventory. So things are working here in his favor. There's a loan of $50,000, which is paying $4,257 a month, and he pays that the 25th day of the month. There's other cash he pays himself, $500 a month. And then we see our average daily operating cash receipts is $3,614 and average daily operating cash needs is $3,539. This gives us an average daily surplus of $75.57. Now here's the warning. If that number is a negative, shut down your business. Because it doesn't matter how much money you put in your business, it's going to keep sucking all the cash out. You can take a loan of $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. Eventually, you'll see you burn through that amount very, very fast. So pay attention to your average daily cash receipts, surplus or deficit. Your first task is to make it a positive. And if you can't make it a positive, just close your doors down because you will never get ahead. Here we have the average daily payable of $21,367, and that's because this owner is very conservative, and our approach is very conservative, where we put away our accounts payable and we make sure we have enough cash to pay when the payments come due. So here we're looking here at the daily cash surplus shortage. It's looking very good, very, very good. For a low margin business, this is great. At the end, even after all accounts payable has been paid, he still has $25,169. For a low margin business, this is great. Next, we'll see what happens when we turn this to 0%. No cash payments, all accounts receivable. Well, we're already beginning with a negative cash. We see that here, $661,000 in the hole. So that means we have to take a loan of some sort. Let's look at here at the loan, at the cash needs. So we probably have to start, and we'll say, okay, we'll go to the bank, like, help me. Let's take a loan of $700,000. 700,000. Okay, that puts us positive for a while. And then we come here again and we're like, what? I just took a loan of 700,000. I'm still back in the negative. I need another loan here in day 10. I'll take it. All I need is $3,000. I'm like, whoa, that only lasted for one day. Let me take another loan. All I need is 2,500. Do you know why this is happening? Well, eventually he gets his accounts receivable here of 1,319,000. So he's able to get back to the positive for a while. But in the meantime, after he pays his accounts payable, he has $618,000 in cash. But here's the problem. The problem is he has borrowed $705,000. So even though he has that in cash, he got to pay back the loan, which leaves him at an $86,000 loss. We just talked about the other guy who was in the positive having 20-something thousand dollars. This person, the same thing. Only difference is how he manages his cash flow. He has $86,000 in negative. Why is this happening? I'll tell you where the answer lies. It lies in the average daily cash surplus / deficits. Just because your customers owe you does not mean you're going to stop making purchases for your business. Just because your customers owe you does not mean other things are not going to keep happening. If he's having no daily cash receipts on average, and he's only getting, lump sum payments every now and then, every single day they're not paying him, he's getting worse and worse in the hole. So that number keeps rolling over and rolling over and rolling over, and there's just no catching up. The only way you catch up is what? Restructure the business or shut down. So now that you know about the profitability versus liquidity trade-off, go ahead and give it a try and see how this applies to your own situation. Yes, you might have more profitability by offering accounts receivable, but then you're less liquid, and you're less liquid that you can't buy as much inventory, and then you have less sales. It's just like that vicious cycle. You're like going around and around and around, and there's no getting a break. But however, there's that optimal place, and by playing around with these numbers, try 50% here, 20%, 10%. What happens? Okay, maybe if I'm 20%, what's going to happen? Just go ahead and try it with your numbers and see what happens for you. And then that's the only way you can see. You can kind of get a sense and be like, okay, this is what I need to do for my business. I need to increase my revenue by this. I can do that by offering accounts receivable, but I'm only going to do it to 20% of my customers. I'm not doing it to everybody because this problem, it could really put me in a bad situation. So give it a try. You can get this template at businessexceltemplates.com. And I hope to see you there. You have a lovely day. Bye.